She texted, "I donated all your suits to Goodwill. You work from home now, you don't need them." I had a major in-person job interview that week. I replied, "Thoughtful of you." Then I went to the interview in my last remaining suit, got hired as senior director, and used my first paycheck to move into my own place. When she asked why my things were gone, original post, I, 35 male, have worked in supply chain management for 11 years. Started at the bottom, warehouse coordinator, making $38,000, and worked my way up to operations manager at a logistics company where I've been for the last 6 years, making $92,000. Not flashy money, but solid. Comfortable. The kind of income where you can afford a decent life, but you're not buying a boat. In March of last year, my company went through a restructuring. My entire department got shifted to remote work. Not optional, mandatory. They closed our floor of the office, reconfigured the space, and told all of us to set up home offices. I didn't love it. I'm someone who prefers being in an environment, around people, with a separation between work and home. But I adapted. Bought a desk, got a second monitor, set up a decent workspace in the spare bedroom of the apartment I share with my girlfriend. My girlfriend and I have been together for 3 years. We've lived together for 2 of those in a 2-bedroom apartment. Lease is in both our names. Rent is $1,650. We split it. I pay $900. She pays $750 because I make more, and we agreed that was fair when we moved in. She works as an office manager for a dental practice. Makes about $48,000. She's good at her job. Organized, efficient, firm with the staff. Those same qualities at home, however, translate into something less professional. She has a habit of making decisions about shared spaces and increasingly about MY things without asking. It started small. She rearranged the kitchen cabinets and moved all my protein powder and supplements to a bottom shelf because they were cluttering the eye line. She reorganized the hall closet and put 3 of my jackets in a vacuum bag in storage because nobody needs this many outerwear options. She threw away a pair of my running shoes that she decided were too worn without asking if I still used them. I did. They were my favorite pair. Every time I pushed back, the response was some version of, "I'm just trying to keep this place organized. You should be thanking me." Like she was doing me a favor by curating my possessions without my consent. I tolerated it because, and I'm going to be honest here, I'm conflict-averse by nature. I pick my battles. Protein powder on a bottom shelf isn't worth a fight. Running shoes are replaceable. I filed each incident away and told myself it wasn't a pattern. It was a pattern. Now, the suits. I owned 5 suits. 3 for regular professional use, 1 for formal events, and 1 that my mom bought me when I got my first management promotion. That last one had sentimental value, but all 5 were functional parts of my professional wardrobe. I'd spent roughly $2,800 total across all 5 over the years. Brooks Brothers, Joss A. Bank, 1 Hugo Boss I got on sale at Nordstrom Rack. They weren't custom. They were a working professional's wardrobe. When I went remote, the suits went to the back of the closet. Obviously, I wasn't wearing a suit to sit at a desk in my spare bedroom. But I kept them because I'm a working professional who might need suits again. This isn't complicated logic. 3 weeks ago, a Tuesday, I came home from getting groceries and noticed the closet looked different. Emptier. Specifically, the section where my suits hung was bare. 5 hangers, all empty. I checked the floor. Checked the storage bins. Checked the spare room. Nothing. I texted my girlfriend, who was at work. "Hey, do you know where my suits are?" Her response, verbatim, I donated them to Goodwill this morning. You work from home now. You don't need them. I needed the closet space for my spring clothes. You're welcome. Smiling face with smiling eyes. She donated 5 suits, $2,800 worth of professional clothing, including 1 for my mother, to Goodwill, while I was buying groceries. And she added a smiley face. Now here's the part that makes this go from infuriating to catastrophic. I had a job interview that Thursday. An in-person interview. For a senior director of supply chain operations position at a major manufacturing company. This was not a casual coffee chat. This was a final round, meet the C-suite, Boardroom interview for a role paying $141,000 base with a $15,000 signing bonus. I'd been through 3 rounds of phone and video interviews over the previous month. This was the last step, and I needed a suit. I hadn't told my girlfriend about the interview. Not because I was hiding it, because I don't count chickens. I'm superstitious about job stuff. I don't talk about opportunities until they're real. It's a personal thing. She didn't know about the interview, which means she didn't factor it in when she donated my wardrobe. But that doesn't excuse anything, because even without the interview, donating someone else's clothing without asking is insane behavior. I stare at that text for about 2 minutes. Then I type back, "Thoughtful of you." That's it. 3 words. No argument. No exclamation points. No anger. Just a response designed to end the conversation without tipping my hand. Then I panicked. Quietly. Internally. Because I had a boardroom interview in 48 hours and 0 suits. I call my older brother. He's about my build. Close enough. He had a Navy suit he wasn't using and offered it immediately. I drove to his place Tuesday night, tried it on, and it fit well enough. Not perfect, slightly tight in the shoulders, but presentable. He also lent me a solid tie and a pair of cufflinks. I got it dry cleaned Wednesday morning with same-day service. $18.50. The most important $18.50 I've ever spent. Thursday morning, I put on my brother's suit, drove to the interview, and sat in a boardroom across from the CEO, the COO, and the VP of operations for 90 minutes. I was prepared. I was sharp. The suit was slightly tight, but nobody noticed or cared. We talked about supply chain optimization, vendor relationships, KPI structures, and team leadership. I answered every question cleanly. I asked smart questions back. By the end of it, the COO shook my hand and said, "We'll be in touch very soon." I drove home, changed out of the suit, hung it up carefully, and waited. Friday afternoon, I got the call. I got the job. Senior director. $141,000 base. $15,000 signing bonus. Full benefits for 01k match, the works. Start date in 4 weeks. I sat in my car in the parking lot of a Walgreens because that's where I was when the call came in. I said, "Thank you," about 6 times, confirmed the details, and hung up. Then I sat there for 5 minutes doing nothing. Just breathing. I didn't tell my girlfriend. Not that night. Not that weekend. I smiled, made dinner, watched TV with her, and kept my mouth shut. Because I was planning. Update 1. 8 days later. I got some questions after my first post about why I didn't confront her about the suits immediately. Fair question. Here's the answer. Because confronting her would have given her a chance to apologize, minimize, and reset the dynamic without anything actually changing. I've been through that cycle with her before. She does something unilateral. I push back. She says, "I was just trying to help." We argue for a day, and then it's over until the next time she decides. To manage my life without my input, I was done with the cycle. I wanted off the ride entirely. And to do that, I needed a plan, not a fight. So let me walk you through the 2 weeks between getting the job offer and what happened next. Week 1, I signed the offer letter. I set my start date. I gave notice of my current job. My boss was disappointed, but supportive. I started quietly researching apartments. Nothing fancy. I found a 1-bedroom about 15 minutes from the new office. $1,375 a month. Within budget with the new salary. Available on the 1st of next month. I paid the deposit and first month's rent using money from my savings. $2,750 out the door. I signed a lease on a Wednesday afternoon while my girlfriend was at work. I didn't use any shared funds. Every dollar came from my personal account. Week 2, I started moving things. Slowly. Strategically. Not the big stuff. She'd notice if the couch disappeared. But my personal items. Books from the shelf, a few at a time. Clothes in small batches, packed into a duffel bag in my car trunk. My monitor and work equipment. My important documents, tax records, birth certificate, passport. My kitchenware that I'd brought into the relationship. I moved things over the course of 5 days in small enough quantities that the apartment didn't look visibly different unless you were really paying attention. She was not really paying attention. During the same period, she was being her usual self, completely oblivious to the seismic shift happening right under her. On that Tuesday, She reorganized the bathroom and threw away my electric razor because the blades were old and it was taking up counter space. She replaced it with a skincare organizer for her products. I used that razor 3 times a week. She threw it away to make room for a toner she uses twice. I said nothing. I added the razor to the mental tally and kept moving boxes. On Thursday of that second week, she came home with shopping bags and announced she was refreshing the living room. She bought new throw pillows, $85 worth, and a decorative tray for the coffee table. She said, "I'm going to rearrange this weekend. I was thinking we could move your desk out of the spare room and put a reading nook in there instead." My desk, where I work. She wanted to replace it with a reading nook. Where would I work? I asked. At the kitchen table or the couch. You're on a laptop. You can work anywhere. I have 2 monitors, a docking station, and a filing setup. That's exactly my point. It's too much equipment for a bedroom. A reading nook would open up the space. I said, "Let's talk about it this weekend." We were never going to talk about it that weekend. By that weekend, I'd be gone. Friday evening, 2 days before move out, her best friend came over for wine night. They sat on the couch drinking barefoot Moscato. I don't judge, but I absolutely judge, and I overheard a conversation from the kitchen that confirmed everything I needed to know. Her best friend said, "You're so lucky he's remote now. You basically get the whole apartment to design however you want." My girlfriend laughed and said, "Honestly, once I get that spare room cleared out, this place is going to be perfect. He doesn't need all that space for work stuff. He's on Zoom calls. He can do that from anywhere." Her best friend, "You already got rid of his suits, right? What's next?" I'm thinking about the garage storage unit. He's got boxes of stuff in there from college that he never looks at. I'm going to go through it next month and donate whatever's useless. My boxes, my storage unit, my stuff from college that she'd already mentally scheduled for disposal. She wasn't just organizing. She was systematically erasing my physical presence from the apartment to make room for her version of the space. The suits were phase 1. The desk was phase 2. The storage unit was phase 3. I was being edited out of my own home, possession by possession, like a slow-motion declutter of a human being. I finished my water, went to the bedroom, and confirmed my moving plans for Sunday. Sunday morning, she went to brunch with her mom, a standing monthly thing. I had approximately 4 hours. I'd reserved a small moving van the day before. My brother came to help. We moved the remaining stuff in 3 hours. Desk, chair, the rest of my clothes, kitchen items, bathroom stuff, my TV from the bedroom. It was mine, bought it before we moved in together. I left everything that was hers or shared. The couch was hers. The dining table we bought together, I left it. I wasn't going to nickel and dime shared furniture. I took what was mine and nothing else. I left my key on the kitchen counter. Next to it, I left a note. It said, "I accepted a new job. I moved out. The apartment is yours. You can find a new roommate or manage the full rent. I'll cover my share through the end of this month. I wish you well." Short, factual, no anger, no accusations, just information. Then I drove to my new apartment, unloaded the van, returned it, and sat on the floor of my empty living room eating a turkey sandwich from a gas station. My brother sat next to me and said, "You good?" I said, "I think I am." And I meant it. Update 2. 10 days later. Final update. Here's how the aftermath played out. She got home from brunch around 2 p.m. I know this because my phone started ringing at 2:14. I didn't answer. She called again and again. Then the text started. "Where is all your stuff? What is this note? What new job? Are you serious right now? You can't just leave. We have a lease." The lease. That was her first concern. Not, "Are you okay?" Not, "What happened?" The lease. Because the lease meant $1,650 a month, and she'd been paying $750 of that. Without me, she was either finding a roommate, negotiating with the landlord, or covering the full amount, which on $48,000 would eat almost half her take-home pay. I texted her back one message. "I'll pay my share through the end of this month. After that, the lease is your responsibility. You can contact the landlord about options." She called 14 times that evening. I let everyone go to voicemail. I listened to the first 2. Voicemail 1 was angry. "You're a coward. You couldn't even tell me to my face." Voicemail 2 was panicked. How am I supposed to afford this place alone? You can't just leave me with this. I stopped listening after that. Monday morning, she texted me a different angle. I know this is about the suits. I'm sorry about the suits. I'll buy you new ones. Can we please talk about this like adults? I responded, this isn't about the suits. The suits are a symptom. This is about 3 years of you deciding what I need, what I don't need, what I deserve to keep, and what gets donated without my knowledge. This is about the running shoes, the jackets, the razor, the plan to clear out my desk, the plan to go through my storage boxes. You've been editing me out of our shared space for 2 years, and the suits were just the one that happened to almost cost me a career opportunity. She wrote back, what career opportunity? I had a job interview the week you donated my suits. A final round, in-person interview, for a senior director position. I wore my brother's suit because you donated mine. I got the job, $141,000. I start next week. Long pause. Then, why didn't you tell me? Because you would have said, I don't need suits since I work from home. She didn't respond to that for 6 hours. When she did, the tone had shifted completely. She said, okay, I get it. I messed up, but you don't leave someone over closet space. Can we do counseling? I'll stop touching your stuff. I promise. I said, you've promised that after the shoes, after the jackets, after the kitchen. The promise expires every time you see something of mine that you'd rather replace with something of yours. I don't trust the promise anymore. I'm sorry. The next wave came from her support network. Her best friend, the Moscato one, texted me Tuesday. She's devastated. You blindsided her. The least you could do is have a conversation instead of ghosting like a child. I said, I left a note, offered to pay through the month, and responded to every text she sent. That's not ghosting. That's exiting. Best friend. You know she can't afford that place alone. You're basically making her homeless. She's an employed adult with options. Roommate, smaller apartment, negotiate with the landlord. I'm not responsible for her housing after we break up. She called me heartless. I put my phone down and assembled my new IKEA bookshelf. It took 4 hours because IKEA instructions are written by people who hate joy. But the shelf is up and it's mine and nobody is going to donate it. Her mom called me Wednesday. I picked up because I have a residual respect for mothers that overrides my survival instincts. What you've done to my daughter is cruel, she opened with. I moved out of a shared apartment after a breakup. That's standard. You didn't give her warning. She didn't give me warning when she donated my professional wardrobe. Those were old suits. She was helping you declutter. They were current suits worth $2,800, and I had an interview that week. She didn't know about the interview. She didn't ask. That's the point. She didn't ask about the suits, the shoes, the jackets, the razor, or my desk. She doesn't ask because she doesn't think she needs to. And I'm done living in a space where my belongings exist at someone else's discretion. Her mom said I was punishing her for being organized. I said organization requires consent from the people whose things you're organizing. She said I was being legalistic. I said that's probably because I'd recently consulted a lawyer about my lease obligations, which I have met in full. She hung up on me. I went back to the bookshelf. Now here's the practical fallout, which is where this gets real. My ex couldn't afford the apartment alone. She asked the landlord to let her break the lease early. He agreed, with a penalty of 1 month's rent, $1,650. She had to pay that out of savings. She moved back in with her mom at 32 years old. I know this because she told me in a final text that said, I hope you're happy. I'm living with my mother because of you. I didn't respond, because she's not living with her mother because of me. She's living with her mother because she spent 2 years treating my belongings like suggestions and my presence like a layout problem to be optimized around. The apartment didn't get too expensive because I left. It was always that expensive. She just never had to face the full cost because I was there subsidizing her living situation while she systematically decluttered me out of it. My new apartment is quiet. It's small, 1 bedroom, galley kitchen, barely enough room for my desk setup in the living room. But my suits, the new ones I bought with my signing bonus, 3 from Nordstrom and 1 from a local tailor my brother recommended, hang in MY closet on MY hangers and nobody is going to touch them. I also went back to the Goodwill where she donated the originals. Long shot, I know, but I went. And I found one, a Hugo Boss. Still had the dry cleaning tag from the last time I'd worn it. $14.99. I bought it back. It's hanging in my closet next to the new ones. It fits like it never left. I didn't find the one for my mom. That one's gone. And that's the one that actually hurts when I think about it too long. Not the money, not the fabric. The fact that my mother handed me that suit when I got my first management title and said, "You look like a man who runs things." I'll never get that moment back in that specific suit. But I called my mom last weekend and told her the whole story, the donation, the interview, the new job, the move. She was quiet for a second, then said, "I'll buy you a new one. You just tell me when." I told her she didn't have to. She said, "I know I don't have to. I want to." That's the difference between giving and taking. I started the new job last Monday. Senior Director of Supply Chain Operations. I wore the Hugo Boss from Goodwill on my first day because it felt right. My office has a window. My boss sent me a welcome email that said, "Glad to have you on board. Big things ahead." I have a team of 12 people and a budget I'm still wrapping my head around. My new apartment has a bookshelf that I built myself, a desk where nobody is planning a reading nook, a closet with 4 suits and enough room for more, and a bathroom where my razor sits on the counter undisturbed. It's not big. It's not Pinterest-worthy, but every single item in it is there because I chose to put it there, and it stays until I decide otherwise. I'm not celebrating. Breakups aren't victories. I lost a relationship. I lost 2 years of shared life. I lost the suit my mom gave me. Those things cost something, and I'm still paying for them in the quiet moments when the apartment is too empty and there's nobody to eat dinner with. But I also gained something I didn't realize I'd lost. The ability to exist in my own space without wondering what would be gone when I got home. That's not a small thing. If you've never had it taken away, you don't know what it's worth. I do now. Thanks for reading. Don't let anyone donate your stuff. And if you're going to a job interview, always have a backup suit. Or, at the very least, a brother with the same build. Later.